Well, I'm real excited today because today we have an icon in the industry, somebody I have followed and watched for many years. And I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome Phil to the Flower Podcast. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, I'm happy to be here with you today, Scott.
There are a few people that I would consider to be really icons in our industry that have helped shape and mold generations of floristry students, businesses, talent. You are definitely one of those people. And I just want to say I'm honored. I really am grateful for this time. And as I begin every podcast, I've got to ask the question, how did you begin uh, your journey into flowers? Where did it all start?
Well, my mother loved arranging flowers, and she took floral arranging classes, and just loved going and looking at flowers in different places, and that kind of rubbed off on me. And I started out in school. I thought I'd be a psychologist, and found out that everybody wanted the cure, but nobody wanted to take the medicine.
Oh, wow.
So when I got out of school, I decided that it might be a good idea if maybe I could get into the flower business, and one day I might open a family business. So that's primarily the way that I got involved with flowers, was my mother's joy of working with flowers, and that just carried over to me. So that started at a very young age. I used to go to the parks and liberate some of the plants at the park. I realized I kind of like roadside here, but as I grew stronger, then my passion for flowers evolved more into, like, pretty soon I was reaching over fences and extending my arms to get flowers, and I'd take them home, and mom would say, "Where'd you get the flowers?" Well, they were growing at the park. She probably knew they weren't growing at the park, but yeah, she just loved flowers, and that rolled over to me getting into the business.
Wow. So how did you begin? I mean, so you played with flowers, you harvested them. Did you go to a school? Did you work for a shop?
Uh,
How did that
yeah,
all start?
I was going to college and working in a flower shop at that time, and that's how I started getting my education in the flower industry. Was things, books and things my mother had, doing arrangements and things of that nature, and worked in a shop for about 6 years, and then decided to open my own. And from one shop, rolled it up to 10 shops. So it wasn't just
Wow.
not the labor of the 10 shops, but just a vehicle to make enough money to retire when I was about 40. So, but my passion and love for flowers, I still have today. And it's in my DNA. I just love flowers and live and breathe and eat flowers. And I'm doing something every day, even during COVID, either making arrangements just for personal use or maybe to put on Facebook. But the opening of the 10 shops was a good thing. Um, I was going to thinking about retiring and maybe being a semi-pro tennis player, and I ripped my knee up, so that dream and aspiration was gone. But my goal was to, retire when I was 40, and I attained that goal with the help of my brother and sisters. From one shop to 10 shops, it wasn't easy, and especially I wasn't in the business to make. I needed to make a living, but I didn't need to make a ton of money. And I did doing flipping houses at the time, so that's where the money came from, so I could enjoy my habit with flowers. You work from 9 to 5 to earn a living, and from 5 to midnight to maybe amass not a fortune, but to be able to reach a point where you can say, I don't really have to work anymore if I don't want to. But that was short lived.
Right.
I sold the 10 shops, took about 6 months off, and had a home in Sedona, and lived there in Sedona, and had a home in Phoenix. And I'm kind of getting off the track here, Scott. But anyway, But the continuation of the journey came with meeting Kathy, because I had met her at the time, and she had just graduated from USC with a master's in music, and she loved flowers and worked in flower shops, and she was in high school also. So anyway, that fast forwards to today.
Wow. So you've had a school where you've actually taught students for quite a long time. When did that start?
That started in the early 70s. And one of the things when I started getting involved with flowers and arranging, I used to look at a lot of arrangements that people would make. And I'm going, actually, the first teacher that I had was a very nice man. But I said, I can do stuff better than that. But that was one of the reasons I started the school. But I mean, I was very self-assured, at what I could do. And when I opened my first shop, a lot of people said, he'll never make it. He doesn't know anything. And was very successful with that. And when I opened my second and third and fourth and fifth, he's going to go broke. But they don't know my work ethic. So when somebody tells me I can't do something, I have that can-do attitude, that yes, I can attitude we have at the school. That's kind of like it is our mantra. It's the yes, I can.
Yeah.
So I have a yes, I know I can aptitude. And the other thing is that you cannot outwork me. So that is where a lot of my success comes from, is being self-assured and putting in the sweat equity that can take you to the top, as long as you are persevere, you're committed, you're dedicated, you persevere, you've got guts, whatever you want to say. Is you just have to have it, stick to itness, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, one of the things I think so many people know you for, being on stage and doing your presentations and showing people, I don't know, to me, you are gifted at being able to just sort of blow people's minds with what you do with foliages or what you've done in floral design. For everybody who doesn't know, Phil is like a master weaver of foliage. I mean, he creates the most amazing art that he adds value really to every design, just about, or all the designs he chooses. But it's so amazing. Where did that begin? Where did that eye for that begin?
Well, actually, my mentor, I've had many mentors. Saverio Casabar, it was a master weaver, and I learned from him. I was at a Teleflora convention in Los Angeles at the Century Plaza Hotel, and I walked into the arcade that was downstairs. I was watching the Floral program, and I don't have a big head or a big ego anymore. I used to. But no, I'm just self-assured in what I can do. And if I say I can do something, I'll back it up. But when people, say you can't do it, then I got news for them. You just motivated me. I think Frank Sinatra said it best when he said, the best revenge is massive success. And so that's probably the wrong reasons, but that's always motivated me to do more and be more, is when somebody says you can't. I don't like that word. So I went and I saw was watching the programs, and some were interesting, some were okay, and saying to myself, I can do better work than this. I can make better use of my time by doing something else, not being bored. So I went downstairs, and looking in the windows of the arcade, there was a flower shop, and they had these fabulous, mind-boggling arrangements that were in the shop windows. And I think that Rocky Pollitz, who's an industry icon there, we were both looking, and I said, Rocky, I'm going to go in and introduce myself and tell the people I'm a florist from Phoenix. So I went in the second day, I think, because I was looking in the windows, and on the way driving back to my hotel, I just actually had tears streaming down my face from the beautiful work that was in there. Wow. And of course, back in the day, even now, you walk into somebody's shop and tell them they got a beautiful shop. Back then, it was like, well, what are you trying to do, is steal our ideas? Or, they just kind of keep on walking, buddy, or whatever it was. But I met this elderly gentleman, and I said, I just want to compliment, I'm Phil Rulloda from Phoenix, and I have a flower shop. And I said, I want to compliment you, your designers, whoever's done the work here. And Bill said he had a big smile on his face, like he had swallowed a banana sideways. And he said, my son Severio does the work. And I looked at him like I'm looking at you, and I'm going, this white guy has a son named Severio. And my uncle's name is Severio.
Oh,
I said,
wow.
well, that's kind of odd because my uncle's name's Severio and I'm Filipino. And his smile got even bigger. And he said, I adopted Severio when he was in Hawaii and he was a young boy. And so I said, oh my God. I said, can I meet him? And he said, well, he's playing tennis. And my eyes just got this big. And I said, there is a God. Because I was an A tennis player and a florist, and Severia's Filipino. And I'm saying, oh my God, things can't get any better than this. And he said, well, he'll be back after 5 o'clock. Can you stop by then? I know this is getting long, but you can edit whatever you want. But you asked the question. So anyway, I went back and told them how beautiful the work was and I loved it and this and that. And they said, would you like to come and work with us next year at Hollywood Park? And I was just blown away that they would make that offer. And I'm going, they're saying that they're never going to, that's, but I would love to. So anyway, that year went by and they called me and said, Phil, when are you going to come? And I said, my suitcase has been packed for a year. Let me interrupt you for 1 second on that. This book is not in print, but this was our book on tropical and contemporary design. But I wanted to show you one of the first pictures when I went to work with Severio. And now remember, this is 1966 when you look at this piece. And I can hold it up and can you see that?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can even have Kathy send that. 1966. So that has been 66.
55 years.
Well, you're good at math. 55.
No, I was born in 66. So
we were working on this.
I'm cheating.
So I went to work with them. I was just delirious that they asked me to come and stay a week with them. And I went back and we went to Hollywood Park and we went into the flower room. My eyeballs were like saucers. In the description, I said it was being like barefoot with no collateral and going to the bank. You're out of luck. So he said, Phil, how would you like to make one of the feature pieces? And I said, oh, sure. Like my hotshot self. Sure. Show me the flowers. Tell me what you want. And he said, like, use a case of bananas and a case of string beans or 100 tea leaves and 100 anthuriums. So I'd only used like maybe 6 anthuriums in my life. So that's what I was saying, going barefoot to the bank with no collateral. You're out of luck. So I had a good mind at the time. And I said, Severio, if I have to go up and down the ladder, because we're using a giant Epern that was, for the arrangement, we've done one with 20-foot high for AIFD in the same Epern that Severio. It's like a giant, giant Epern with all metal arms going out. So anyway, I said, Severio, if I have to go up and down the ladder, it'll take me a long time to get this done. I said, why don't I get the ladder and you get on the ladder and I get the materials and you make the first one. And then you go do something else and I'll do the second one. So anyway, I know that was kind of long and drawn out, edit whatever it is you want, Scott, but I about wet my pants. I had no clue and I was a good copyist. He did one and then I did a companion piece that went in the Turf Club. But that was the beginning of a lifelong relationship. And one thing, not advice, but he would do things, but he would do them so fast or make it more difficult for me to learn. And that was good for me not to be hand-fed like a baby, that he put me through the paces so that I could learn and develop myself. It was a longer journey to do that. But I was, I wanted to be just like Severio. And it was like I was maybe a carbon image. Then I started switching and doing things in later years. But you didn't see a lot of that you wouldn't see that kind of work from anywhere else. So that was my main inspiration, of course, Buddy Benz for the written word. And he's an industry icon also.
Wow. That's amazing. And I just, you see an image like that and you don't see work like that really I mean, I can't even remember the last time I've seen something that amazing. Maybe on an AIFD stage, but even then, you don't see sometimes that drama like you know like back then. So that's incredible.
Well, my buddy Renee Van Rims had seen a photo of a headdress by Dick Seekins and Richard Seekins and Scott Acevedo, and he put a note on there like there's not many people that would even know how to do this kind of work, or even some of the work that I've done. And I said, there's very few that could do this work. They have to have the props first, but you don't see that kind of work anymore. Or the headdresses. Unfortunately, they abandoned the headdress balls years ago, but just amazing work that you don't see today.
Hmm. With so much experience teaching florists and floristry and having your own businesses, where do you think is a good place for people to start if they feel like they want to get into it? Because I know there's a lot of different kind of segments now, whether you're just do weddings or you have a brick and mortar, but I feel like the brick and mortar business, this, that traditional business, there are people that, I mean, I met a young lady not long ago who just opened her doors just, I don't know, 3 months ago. And I think, when you want to start, where's a good place to start?
Well, the best place to start is, like I said, to put the cart before the horse, get some education. There's lots of schools across the country. Depends on what, you're looking for. And like many people just want to specialize in weddings. So take as many wedding seminars as you can with as many different people as you can, because everybody offers something different. If you just want to stick into that arena. But I still think that people that would get a basic knowledge of techniques and mechanics and how to do things and how to take care of the flowers, it's not just learning how to make one big arrangement or do this or do that, because so many of the different things that you can do for party work could be used for not necessary. Well, so yeah, a lot of the things that bigger pieces and stuff like that, you could transfer that to sympathy tributes. And it's not just one thing. This is a multifaceted industry. It's like a magician. You wear a lot of hats and you have to wear them all well. And so it's, get your information first, do your due diligence. If you can apprentice with somebody, that's always great. It's even harder to do because people kind of want to keep their information and their things. It's taken them years to accumulate. So people want to come in and learn what they can, and then they want to move on down the road and do their own thing, and they've done it at your expense. But if you can find someone to apprentice with, it doesn't have to be one person. It can be multiple people, but people are kind of leery of people coming in and, like kind of ho-hum around, and you're going to get their information. And so it's a little bit harder in today's economy to do that, but still other people are giving people opportunities to do that. It seems a lot of people want to be paid just to look at what they're doing and maybe take some perfect pictures if it's permissible. But there's lots of great books out there. I mean, Scott, I learned something more than one thing a day. I've got a notebook this big of projects and things that I may or may not do in the future. There's a little piece up here that Brianna Kwan did on a how-to tutorial, which was great, that I sent her a note how easy it was to do. I mean, it's easy if you know how to do it, but and easy something you can do if you want to put the time and effort. But it was something that didn't take hours and hours to build, that after you've done maybe 10 of them, you can make them in an hour or less. And so I would share that with classes too. And so there's a little piece up behind me on the shelf.
I thought that looked familiar when I saw that. That makes sense. That's wonderful. Well, it's hard for me to imagine you still learning things with everything you've done, but I love that attitude. I love the fact that you don't go about life thinking you've learned it all, but you're looking for those opportunities to learn.
Well, from this piece that I showed my assistant Fan, it's unfortunate I didn't bring the other two pieces down, but we did two things that are upgrades from this. I don't know if you have time. I can have my daughter bring them down and just hold it in front if you want. if
Well,
you
we can do
don't have,
that. Well, we can do it later. We can do it at the
okay,
end. Yeah.
because it would be interesting for people to see, you learn one concept or idea, and then with me, when I see something, I want to say, how can I add my signature or
Mm.
do something a little bit different? Maybe somebody else has done it and I haven't seen it done exactly that way, but I learn from everybody. And that's one of the things is that for me, not just reading, but I love to read. And I think that readers are leaders. And I apply that information because knowledge isn't power, knowledge applied is power. So in the classes, you hear it, you see it, you do it, you retain it. Hopefully, you'll sell it or you can enjoy it or give it away as a gift.
Mm. Absolutely. I think that's sometimes a great reward is just being able to pass it forward, share that information, um, because then you get to see it through somebody else's eyes, which I just think is amazing. Um, I know I wanted to ask you this because I remember you talking about this and you just mentioning the reading element. I know you have some favorite books, and I'd love to hear. Do you remember that conversation? You were sharing some books that really meant a lot to you that you used to really give away.
I still have hundreds of books around here. I've been trying to give, books away. I mean, it's most of the books that people want that are florists are books that have pictures of flowers. And I have, zillions of those and have given maybe half my library away. And it's harder to give away books that are more motivational or inspirational and stuff like that. So I still read a lot of those books. I mean, something that's so simple that would be, the precious present. It's
Mm.
about living in the moment, living in the now. You spell now backwards, it's one, so you're a winner for a lifetime if you are enjoying the present moment, because really this is all that we have. We have no contract with life, so you better enjoy what you have here and enjoy it as much as you can, and pay it forward. Any of your successes that you have, share them with other people, and also take joy in other people that are successful. Don't say, well, that guy got this, yada yada yada. If you want to go after it, nobody is holding you back except yourself.
Mm.
But there's just reams and different books that people can read. That would probably be the best way to start, is feeling good about yourself, is read the precious present, and I think that will help you or
I love
help
that
anybody.
suggestion. Yeah, absolutely. I love that suggestion. One of the things I think I took away too when I was in California recently, I got to spend the day with you teaching class. And there's so many people that want to jump into floristry and uh, you know, try to copy pictures and try to do things, which is all, I mean, I guess there has a place for that. But the one thing I really felt was the mechanic side of it, which you've already stressed, um, that people sometimes like to skip over that. And I really loved what you said to me before we started recording about the only place that work is after success is at the, how did you say it? I always get these things mixed up in
The
the
only,
dictionary.
the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that expression. And so many times people want the success without putting the work in. And I feel like um, learning mechanics and learning techniques and all these things are so important. Um, and once, just like that piece behind you that you mentioned, that you learned that from Brenna, and then you were able to take that and make it your own. People just don't realize that these techniques can help them develop their own style, right? I mean, their own look, their own aesthetic, and they just want to skip over it. And I just feel sad about that sometimes, because I feel like you want, I don't know, you don't want them to sell themselves short by skipping the steps. Does that make sense?
Well, everybody wants a quick fix. That's like I said about psychology. Everybody wants a quick fix. They don't want to put in the sweat equity and the time that'll it'll help cure them from whatever ailments that they might have. It's just show me the money. And slopping stuff together is a lot of really poor work that's done. I can see it all the time, but it's not for me to judge whatever. And you know, people are doing things like some people are really ugly on the Facebook. There's a lot of people struggling out there trying to do their very best. I'm not going to send um, a note to somebody and say this is outstanding, wonderful, amazing, terrific, scintillating, whatever you want to say. If it's not, I can say it's pretty, or it's this or that, or whatever, and give them some credit for doing something instead of people out there that are beating up on people that are trying to do something and they're taking pride and joy in what they do. Granted, maybe the design isn't stellar, but the flowers are still beautiful. So if you can, people can take that to heart. And I think too, along with you talking about people getting involved in the business, number one, you kind of need to be a people person. I know so much work is done on the internet and other things, but I would rather hire a good salesperson or a great salesperson. I can make you into a great designer. But if you're not a people person, you don't want to interact with people and, glad hand them and give them that big smile and lighten them up. If when people come into our shop, it's in my mind, my arms go out. I love you. I want to serve you. Will you follow me? And then you come into my business and hopefully you will leave with the spirit of love. And it's not a phony thing. It's not where I'm trying to get another dollar out of you. I love you. I want to serve you. Will you follow me? And if you can leave with the messages and things that can tell you how many people, I give them a little quote or something. What can I put on this card? And I'll do this, do that. And these young guys come in and I said, well, you want to get in a lot of trouble. Let me write some poetry for you. You put it in your hand. They bring their friends back. Talk to this guy. He knows what he's shopping about. So, you be an outstanding salesperson and really care about what people's needs are. If it's good for the customer, it's good for me. It's like saying if it's stock, I have it. It's just obvious.
Phil, what is one of the most popular classes that you teach?
I think probably the advanced class where you do some Euro style things. Some of the weaving with foliages would be any class that I think anybody can learn from me, even whatever level they're at. A lot of people really don't enjoy the leaf manipulations and stuff like that. I mean, I do things with yarn and stuff like that, but not too much because I'm really in most of my classes, I'm trying to teach people that maybe do some unique things, but not doing things. And you can say, well, some of the weavings that you do could take hours too, but I'll do simpler things, something a little bit like making a bird is not difficult if you want to take the time to do it, but people will give up on it too early. But what a lot of people are doing and the stuff that they're doing, they're so labor intensive that I can't spend. I feel I justify the time that they're being spent and the amount of money they're spending, that if they can't do something that could be saleable. And a lot of the big things I do are saleable at some point in time, but we do a lot of unique things that are not where there's a lot of time that's involved in constructing the designs, or maybe take one of these weaves out. You don't have to use 10 or 15 in one arrangement. Use one time, you maybe use another, depending on the scale of the arrangement. You can do more. So it just depends on the level of the student, if the person's committed, and if it's something they enjoy. Like my assistant Fanny, she loves to do all the wrapping and this stuff, and doesn't make any difference if it takes her today to make it. She enjoys it and she loves it. So, hey, if I have an idea or something, or she'll come up with things, I'll say, here, Fan, you do this or you make that. And I can read a book or some poetry or commit new poetry to memory, which is something that is in my DNA. And I love doing that. So it's not painstaking for me to, it is painstaking if I'm having to wrap yarn and do all that kind of stuff, but I love to see it.
Phil, you just mentioned, the weaving and the commitment to that, or the love of it. And a minute ago, you were talking about your approach to people when they came in your store. And I'll be honest with you. I've done a lot of interviews now, and I don't know that I've ever heard anybody talk about these open arms and just loving people where they're at as they come in the store, and not in a what is in it for me attitude, but just in a giving attitude. And I feel like that is just so unusual. Have you always been that way? Have you
Yeah, well,
um
there's a universal law, Scott. When you give, you'll always receive.
hmm,
So it's the same way, with love. The more love you give, the more love you receive, and it provides, a home for my family, the food that I eat, the things that I enjoy, and it's not really working. I mean, sure, there's a lot of work. I still mop floors and things and clean out buckets and process flowers. It's part of the business. So if you can do it with the be happy attitude, not like I hate doing this, I don't like this, then you're just reinforcing that in your mind. It's not going to go away. You're going to have to still clean the buckets or do whatever it is. So, just do it in the right way and be grateful that you have a job at this point in time. You still have one. I think a lot of people are really cognizant of that now. Is be
yeah,
grateful.
yeah, for sure, for
Well,
sure.
you were talking about books. There's an older book. It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But Stephen Covey has passed away, I think, in 2012. But if people would go online, because I have put this up on Facebook, and just put Live, Love, Learn Stephen Covey and watch this. You watch it after this is over. Maybe take you 4 or 5 minutes. I
Hmm.
think it would put a lot of joy into their day. But yeah, I don't want to start on books because then there's going to be a whole ream of books that are going to be coming out, which may or may not pertain to most people. But not just making pretty arrangements, it's helping develop your mind and your spirit at the same time, mentally,
Mm.
physically, emotionally.
Yeah, I can see where that would be. I don't know. I feel like that's a side of the business. That's another thing that you don't hear a lot talk about is the self development or the self awareness and just helping grow yourself personally, not just design wise, but also, the inside. I feel like so many times people don't realize that I don't know. I just feel like there's a great connection there because I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I guess it's hard to be a creative person and be that kind of give that kind of gift to people without being working on yourself inside. Yeah, it does. You can't pull from a dry well. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying that
Oh,
right.
absolutely. It's like it's the same way with having an open mind. If unless a parachute's open, something bad's going to happen to you. It's the
Mm,
same way you can't tell a book by the cover or the taste of the wine by looking at the wine bottle or the flask. So you have to get in and experience it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Phil, you have done so many incredible things. What is your favorite flower? I'm going to ask you that question.
Well, actually, I really love all flowers, even baby's breath. But favorites would be my anthuriums because they're heart shaped. So I've been on a journey to heart all my life, and so I love anthuriums, uh, gardenias, and yellow roses.
Mm,
Of course, protea is another one of my pack. Yeah, I love protea too. So, but the heart shaped flower, the anthurium, is probably my favorite flower. Not
yeah.
probably.
Yeah, that's cool. To be inspired, to come up with new ideas. What do you do personally to do that?
Well, I look at a lot of things that other people are doing and then do a different application of, what they're doing. I don't want to copy people exactly. So I want to switch it around and put a little bit of my, soul and personality into the work. And I think that is where, if you work with thoughtful, caring hands and love in your heart, you can create crown jewels of praise that exalt the creator of all that is good. So there's different ways that people go around getting their information, and inspiration. But most of it comes from nature and just playing around and doing different things. Like I had a piece of wood that I used in an arrangement the other day, and I positioned it in 4 or 5 different ways, and upside down and round, to see which would be the best way to use that. So the wood was really the inspiration for the design. Then I had to figure out what flowers do I have around the house, which is growing, or if it's after a class, I have extra product, to work with. But I've got a stack of notes and things for hundreds of arrangements that I may never make, but and photos and things that I've saved. It's even like notes and quotes. We're cleaning out house a little bit. I have like maybe 6 big cartons of notes and quotes and stuff that I've used over the years. And I'm going, oh my God, just to go through this. But when I start going through them, I don't know when I'm going to get through one box to see what it acts. Oh my God, I can use this or this or this. And then more poetry and more quotes and more stuff is coming back. I might have to read it again a couple times. And some things are so long that I've committed to memory because I love it. I could never use it for a floral program because the audience would be going to sleep. But Khalil Gibran, a quote called "Solitude and Seclusion." Please do that for me. I committed that to memory and I started to recommit it. I was spending night after night just trying to recommit that to my memory. And I said, you know what? You can read it, go on and learn some new quotes or do something else that would be more beneficial than to torment yourself, waking up in the middle of the night with a flashlight and going over this stuff. Well, one of the things too, Scott, there's like Faust, he had a quote, whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So the whole thing is you have to begin it. It's a yes, I can attitude. Yes, I can. Like Little Engine could. I know I can. I know I can. I know I can. Well, yes, I can. And you develop that attitude, but then you have to move forward with it. See, if we had 3 or 4 hours, I could be giving you all kinds of poetry and stuff like that. That's been the hook over the years. The flowers are the hook. And if I can get to the audience and say something that's going to be insightful, that motivates them mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then my job is really done because they can take those words and apply them. Of course, they can take the arrangements too, but those will probably disappear from their mind. But if they write one little quote down or something like that, then I always say, pay it forward. If it helps you, if it's helped me, it can help you. But people want the quick fix, push the button, like the picture, and move on. And that's fine. At least they like the picture. I've done something. There's that one quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, to laugh often but much. The last part is it to know that one life has succeeded because you have lived. Or if one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. I'm not going to give you the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if I get 10 likes or 300 or 500 or whatever it is, it's fine. I did something that made somebody feel better. So I feel successful in doing that.
Mm. No, I love that attitude because I know sometimes we get so hung up on the responses to our posts on social media that we undervalue those maybe handful of people, 1 or 2, 5, whatever, that it did make a difference in. And I think that's a great way to look at it, and not necessarily that you had this expectation, because it doesn't matter if 500 people flip the page and hit the like button, but if 3 or 4 actually it gets through to them and changes their life or makes their day, that's really great. One thing you were saying, just a minute ago, it made me think about well, you'll say yes to something and you'll figure out and you'll put the work in and you'll make it happen. But a lot of times people, they're afraid to say yes to something because they haven't ever done it before. And as a result, they kind of get this paralysis of analysis, or their confidence doesn't get, that boost because they have that fear sort of in them. And that's one thing I think your can-do attitude, I think, is so great about. But I'm just curious, have you ever felt that way or known people that feel that way? And or if not, what would you say to them?
I would say, look fear in the face and do it anyway.
Mm.
And the other thing that I had told you about, from Faust, it's whatever you can do or dream. So dreams are the seedlings of reality. So first a dream, and then you have to start working at it, because anything that is new, um, normally people don't want to readily accept. I say, like, when you know when people look at something and they're kind of fearful or apprehensive about doing it, um, then they need to come outside their comfort zone and try. You have to try it. And of course, that's once again what the most of the books and things that I read are motivational, inspirational, and spiritual books. So I'm impregnating my mind every day with great thoughts from people that have made a difference on the planet. And so that's where I think people need to do is go to that look within place. You have to look within yourself, because that's where your questions come from, and that's where you're going to find your answers. They may not be in a book or whatever else it is, but really it's about just doing your due diligence, putting in the sweat equity, and outworking everyone else.
There you go. Yeah, I love that. That's the key to a lot of things. Phil, what was one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome having your flower shops?
Money.
Now you're going back to flipping houses again.
I opened my first shop. It was $2,000. $1,000 went on for fixturizing the flower shop, and the other $1,000 was for flowers and whatever. And I used to have my binoculars and my old '68 Chevy. That was my delivery vehicle. And I went with my binoculars looking down the street. If I could see somebody that looked like they were in shorts or a blue uniform, I'd jump in my car and I'd go burn down the road and ask the mailman if he had any checks so I could pay my bills. I remember my rent was $93 a month. And I was
How much?
$93 a month was the rent for my first flower shop.
Wow.
And when they raised the rent the next year, $15, I was going, how can a person stay in business when they raise the rent, like 15% or 20%, whatever it was. But yeah, that was back, and it was always, even with the 10 shops, robbing Peter to pay Paul, for, what I'm saying is trying to juggle the money and see what kind of nighttime jobs I can have, whether it's unloading freight cars or doing whatever I was doing to get some extra cash and bring some more income so I could keep the shop afloat. But here, with the COVID and everything else, it's even more difficult now. And working several jobs, most people don't want to make that kind of commitment to being successsul. If it's easy, it's good. So I don't know if I got off on track on that one, but
well, I think you're good. So at what point did you feel like, or did you ever get to that point where you felt like so this is self-sustaining. This is not that maybe you're rolling in money, but that you're, that you didn't have to work the odd jobs?
No, it's really networking. I think you've heard him say that your networking will determine your net worth. So it's out there glad handing people and stopping in offices and buildings and places and doing what you need to do. That was the worst thing I had to do when I was younger, was to put on a suit and take bud vases to office buildings and go in and meet the secretaries or the people in charge if they would let me meet them, but leaving my business card with a bud vase and a smile and a handshake and whatever. I used to just lay awake at nights. That would my guts would be turning, because I really am a very quiet and shy person. The people that know me from way back, they used to just call me stone faced. Phil, you look so serious all the time, and like you should be out sitting on a rock. It wasn't being like, oh money come. It was like, oh money come, please come quickly, because I didn't. But it's there's not just one thing that's going to help you be successful or not be fearful. It's just sometimes you do things, and like if you want to get the same results, keep doing the same thing. And if you want to change, well, like Wayne Dyer said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And it's not just looking at them, it's doing something with things so that you can implement some positive change in your life. And if you do that in your life, you'll do it in other people. So it's the same thing. A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes, yes, I love that. That's so good. I always love to ask my advice question, and of course, like most of my guests, you've done nothing but give advice. But if there is one thing you would want to make sure, sort of, you left people with that maybe don't know you, Phil, what's that one thing that you'd really love to share?
For people that don't know me, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is like a broken winged bird that cannot fly. How's that?
That's great. That's great. I love that. And I feel like I have to ask this question. So what I can't imagine that you don't have goals and dreams at this point in your life and career. What is it you've got on your wish list, on your dream list?
Well, all my dreams have come true. All my family's doing really well. So if the family's doing well, I am. And that goes for all the people that I know and friends. Yeah, just try to have that be happy attitude, be grateful for every day that you're hopefully able to walk the planet. And if it help as many people on your way, as you're going up, because like an old guy like me, students keep grabbing me by my pants and saying, "Oh man, you're not going to get off the face of the earth. You're going to be going to the top with us." And there's always plenty of room at the top for those that want to get to the top, and whatever the top is for the individual. So sometimes it's just being in the business that you love, and then your work is love made visible, and doing something beautiful that makes other people happy, and then you share in that joy because you did create something that made them happy, or you're just joyful for the arrangement or whatever it is that you did. It could be, donating your time to a worthy cause and helping other people. So I think that's, if you help other people, you're helping yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I know so many people that especially AIFD members that I've talked to or I've interviewed, or they all were like, "Oh, you need to make sure you interview Phil. Please interview Phil." And I know one of the interviews we're going to be releasing soon is one with Jackie Lacey. So it'll already released by the time this one gets released. But he was so excited to know that you were going to be on the Flower podcast and be able to share some of your stories and some of your gifts with everybody. I'll never forget. There was one time I actually saw you design. I don't know where we were. It had to have been in Atlanta. I'm at some kind of a show. Or maybe, you know what, now that I think about it, maybe it was a Georgia District Florist Association meeting or something that you did some design work. And I remember walking away thinking, because I've never been, I'm like you, maybe not to the extent you are, which is scary for me, but I love flowers. I love them all. But and tropicals, and maybe it's just because of growing up here in a more, in a less tropical climate, let me put it that way, that I don't have that connection to tropicals like some people do. And when I saw you on stage making some of the things you did and doing some of the things you did, I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, who even wakes up thinking about some of these things? And then to hear from our conversation earlier that you probably have notebooks of designs that you've sketched out that may never even come to pass, which makes me really sad. But I just think, wow, what an incredible journey. People who sometimes think, that's just not my thing. That's just not my flower. That's not my palette. I wish then sometimes they could just see them through your eyes. How would you encourage people to use more tropicals?
Well, number one, they're long-lasting flowers.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, this is not off the track, but we make poodles in class, You want a clown face, I can make a clown face. I can make a happy face. I can make a Hello Kitty. I can make a rabbit, a bear, whatever it is. So it's all part of the business. But I think most of the time when I've, traveled and been with people in other states that they've never used them, or maybe they're not easily accessible to them, and they don't know really, not because you don't have to do a Phil Rulloda style design, but if you share that with your customers, and if they see it, or even in silk, so many people, when I've done classes, they'll let me know, Phil, we're selling these things like hotcakes, because they don't get tired of the same thing, but they just kind of get used to it because maybe it's not being done. So maybe not every shop in the area will be doing tropicals and the weaves and things, but if you're the one shop that can be noted for that, if everybody else is doing the same thing, then it really only comes about really price or personality that you like dealing with that person, but then price might be the first thing that they would be considering. If it's apples to apples, and it's going to come to that engaging smile that you have that opens a lot of doors.
Well, the funny thing is you hit the nail on the head too, and you said tropicals last so long. So even if maybe they're a tiny bit more expensive, but if it lasts 2 weeks, or lasts way longer than other things, I mean, that's so cool. And I've got to share this story. So and I'm getting off track here, when I was in LA and you had Fran is her name, your sister? Fanny. Yeah. She made that silk poodle. And I took a photograph of it. And you were telling me about how you used to make those in your flower shop. And I was like, when I saw her making it, I had no idea what it was going to be. So when she got finished, I'm like, oh my gosh, that thing is so stinking cute. I can't believe more people don't do this. Well, I want you to know that I came back to the wholesaler that I kind of do some stuff with a couple days a week. And there's one of the designers there that does some things. I showed her that photograph, and she turned around and made one, and people were commenting on it. Then somebody came in with a photograph of their dog and wanted her to make one that matched the dog. And it was just like, I'm like, all because of that poodle that I got to see in your school there. And so I just wanted you to know that, first of all. But one of the things I remember when you were telling me about that was how a lot of times people or designers, and I don't want to make this sound ugly, but they look at something like that and they think, oh, that's not me.
Well, it doesn't have to be you, because if they go down the street and see you and you can make it for them, then guess who they're going to come back to? They'll be coming back to you. So it's just, doing an ice cream soda is not beneath my dignity. It's making the customer happy, then come back when you have an order for something else. We used to do a lot of balloon art and that kind of stuff. And I just said, I really don't want to do this. I didn't really enjoy it a lot. And, but we would do a lot of crazy, wild things. And it was kind of fun, but that's not really what I wanted to do. But if you want balloons, my father liked balloons more than he did flowers. So we'd load him up with a couple dozen balloons and an arrangement, which he probably liked the flower a little bit, but the balloons made him crazy. So if that's what the customer wants, give them what they want, and you can have what you want.
See, and I love that, because sometimes we forget that. We feel like our identity gets wrapped up in what a customer wants, and we forget that it's about that service that we provide.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's people like their steaks where their good veterinarian could save them. And I like mine well done. Sulfates and wines and red wines I'm allergic to. So you're supposed to do this. Well, listen, I don't want to be sneezing all day and not enjoy my meal. So don't do anyway.
It's all good. So, Phil, I know I was really surprised when I got to be a part of your class there that one day, that you teach a lot of different classes. So can you tell us a little bit more about your school, what you're doing, the kinds of classes you offer, and who they're for?
Yeah, we have a two-week basic design course, and it's beyond basics. We do a lot of, I don't like to say traditional work, but classical work, which is traditional. It just sounds nicer. But even when it comes to doing a bud vase or maybe a round arrangement or a centerpiece, we do things that are more classical, and but we will do different things to them that will make them look maybe more avant-garde, or they're something a little bit more special than the common everyday thing that everybody's doing. So even with our simply tributes and things like that, we upgrade those things where you would think, well, gee, is this really basic work? And if you can do the things that we're doing, you can probably tap into most shops, unless they're specialty shops, and be able to recreate, what they're doing, and things that would be saleable, but with a little more panache and style than you would see. And because everybody can't be a hot shop starting out. And most of the time people retrain people in the way they want it done. And I always tell them, don't say, well, Phil Rulloda said this. The golden rule is the man or woman that signs the check makes the rules. So you go by and you look in the window, see what they're doing, then take pictures or whatever it is before you go in, so you have an idea of the style of the work and things that they're doing in the shop. But we have a 3-day special events class, a 3-day advanced class. We also have a 3-day wedding, or I think it's 2 days or 3-day wedding class on just bouquets and floral accessories. I would say we're holding those classes maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We're only taking in like maybe 8 students now with the COVID, so there's plenty of space for people. I still want to be connected with the business. I'll be 79 in October, and actually 59 years in the business in August. So it's really time for me to, I wouldn't say exit. I can't do that. It's in my DNA, Scott. So it's like every day there's something I have to do. Whatever it is, it's flowers. But if I wasn't doing flowers, I would probably just write and do poetry and stuff like that. But it's hard just to do that, because I'm always coming back to flowers, no matter what it is. It's too many years doing that. So I just think it's been a wonderful journey for me. I always title my programs "A Journey of the Heart," and it continues. So sometimes I feel that if I'm not involved in flowers, is my purpose in life over? So like I say, if I can help that one person through the day with something that I'm sharing with them, then maybe I'll be granted a few more days. So that's always in the back of my mind. So I'll stay connected with flowers until I'm gone.
There you go. Well, congratulations on 59 years this August. And I've seen your work ethic up close, and at 79, it just amazes me. Thank you for everything you contribute to our florist industry still. And thank you so much for being on the Flower Podcast.
Hey, boy, thank you so much, Scott. It's great to see your smiling face. Wish you a lot of love and blessings, joy, and wellness in your career. And I'll meet you at the top, wherever the top is.
Okay. I love that. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.